Battle Through the Heavens God, the Flame Emperor Chapter 1, Do-Di Breaks the Sky, the Mysterious Passage of the New Continent. Gamma Empire, Altaine City. Since the end of the war between the two emperors, Xiao, Sun'er, and Kalin held a grand wedding in Wudin City. Countless people in the entire Dochi continent witnessed their love. The wedding was romantic and grand. After that, it was rumored that Xiao accompanying the two wives on the Dochi continent. They seemed to have disappeared in the eyes of ordinary people, but only a few people knew that Xiao was the only one who roamed the mainland, and the two wives went on a retreat to become Do-Di. Since then, in the Gamma Empire, Wudin City has jumped to become a first-tier city, and the small Xiao family has also developed in geometric multiples. Emperor Xiao, on the top of a familiar cliff, a frail man in black was lying on the grass, holding a piece of grass in his mouth, chewing slightly, letting the faint bitter taste fill his mouth. The starting point of everything seems to have changed since I met the teacher here. The man in black smiled and muttered to himself. Taking a closer look, this seemingly weak figure and terrain seemed to be somewhat familiar. Emperor Xiao, the mountain behind Wudin City. The seemingly emaciated young man in front of him is the supreme powerhouse of the Dochi continent. The legendary figure who rescued Central Continent from Emperor Hun Tiandi and even saved Dochi continent from a catastrophe. Time flies, and before you know it, decades have passed since the legendary battle of the two emperors. After Xiao defeated the Hun clan emperor, the Dochi continent also continued to celebrate for a long time. First, it was to celebrate that Dochi continent was still the continent that produced many geniuses and continued to be wonderful. The second is to celebrate the emergence of Do-Di powerhouses in Dochi continent. This breath? It should be almost the same. Decades are really fleeting. Xiao stood up from the grass and looked at the space in front of him that was shaking slightly. It was strange to say that the grass under Xiao feet not only did not tilt because of Xiao reclining, but was even more verdant than the surrounding grass. A figure gracefully walked out of the shattered space, looking at the man in black. In front of him, he couldn't help smiling. Brother Xiao. A crisp and sweet voice echoed in the back mountain. Successful. Xiao turned around, looked at Sun'er's delicate and slightly blushed cheeks, and smiled slightly. Well, thanks to Brother Xiao, you opened the mysterious plane channel to absorb the origin chi there. Otherwise, I am afraid that on the Dochi continent, there is still no one who can break through to Do-Di. Sun'er looked at Xiao with eyes like the moon. Afterwards, Sun'er and Xiao hugged tightly, and then Xiao gently hugged Sun'er's waist and said with emotion, "Before, your father sent you to my Xiao family, now you want to come," and he had lost Sun'er back again. You have always been the hero in Sun'er's heart. Sun'er also looked at the back mountain of Wudin City in the Gamma Empire and couldn't help feeling a little bit, yes, everything started from here. Here is her beautiful childhood. I met Brother Xiao. He has always been a hero in her heart. Xiao and Sun'er cuddled together, looking at each other. Xiao also attacked his charming cherry lips when he saw this. Sun'er was startled at first, but he didn't dodge and let the man in front of him move. A sense of spring is slowly radiating from the back mountain of Wudin City. Cough cough cough. Did we come at the wrong time? Two middle-aged men came out of the void, looking at the two men and women cuddling below with a loving look on their faces. Although the two of them today seem to have not changed much from the past, their aura is far from what they used to be. That feeling is actually a Do-Di. Father, Senior Zhu-kun, Xiao said to the two people in the sky, pulling Sun'er with a hint of crimson on her cheeks. Ha ha ha, it doesn't matter. Sun'er is already married to you, and it's one of my wishes. But you're really a kid. I think I just sent Sun'er to your Xiao family in an attempt to get the piece of soul jade from Emperor Tuashi. I can't imagine that now I have really lost my wife and lost my daughter. However, thanks to your help, I finally broke through the barrier of Dosheng, and it's considered cheap for you, kid. Gu Yuan couldn't help but be very satisfied when he saw Xiao and his beloved daughter Sun'er, who was a father. Which father doesn't want his daughter to find the happiness of the one she loves? Ha ha ha. Xiao also laughed in agreement with Gu Yuan, who looked at him with a look of relief. Kalin is also out. Xiao had just finished talking to Gu Yuan's father when he saw that in the depths of the space, suddenly an overwhelming nine-colored luster spewed out, and finally the colored light condensed and turned into an enchanting shadow that appeared in front of Xiao Yan. After so many years of seclusion, it's finally a breakthrough. Kaylin stretched out lazily, her charming curves showed her lingering perfection, and then the queen, as usual, said coldly, "This is Dode. The level of the power is really different from that Doshang. Is Xiao alright?" Even with Queen Medusa's aura, she missed her daughter very much after years of seclusion, and immediately said to Xiao Yan, Xiao is okay, she has been following teacher and guided by teacher himself." Xiao Yan also looked at Medusa and said slowly. Talking and laughing, the five of them walked from the back mountain to the main entrance of Xiao's house. "Don't worry, Yaner, I'll take care of everything here for you. A good man is determined to go everywhere. Go with confidence. The new world is different from the Dochi continent. You have to be more careful about everything." His palm rested on Xiao Yan's shoulder. The one who's talking is Xiao Zhan, the current patriarch of the Xiao family. Since the war between the two emperors, Xiao Yan also handed over the position of the patriarch back to his father. Now the Xiao family is full of children and grandchildren. After Xiao Yan was promoted to Dode, due to the activation of the power of blood, all people close to Xiao Yan have benefited from the power of blood, and their strength is like a boat. It was so easy to improve. In just a few short years, the Xiao family developed at an astonishing speed and became the leader of several major families. Of course, Xiao Yan the Flame Emperor was indispensable. Quietly bid farewell to the Xiao family, and the five of them also understood that the strong Dode had to leave Dochi continent after all. Immediately, they appeared in Zhongzhou. The top of Zhongzhou, a mountain that broke out of the ground in the Battle of the Two Emperors, is called Shuangdi Mountain by the world. This mountain is unattainable, and there seems to be a special energy barrier on it. No matter who it is, there is no way to forcibly break in. The five fighting emperors. This Dode powerhouse, who had been extinct on Dode continent for 10,000 years, now appears on Shuangdi Mountain as five of them. At the peak of the mountain, the five people who were still in the Xiao family just a moment ago appeared in a manor. In the manor, a figure in black stood with his hands behind his back, looking up at the endless void in front of him. There was no energy fluctuation on him. However, under that thin back, it seemed that even the heaven and the earth were only eclipsed. "You guys already have the strength to reach Dode, but it's just because of the lack of origin chi that you can't go any further. As long as this problem is solved, you will be promoted to Dode. It will be a matter of course," Xiao Yan said with a smile. "Hey, but even though you are promoted to Dode, there seems to be a big gap between you and you? What level are you at now?" Zhu Kun asked curiously. He found that even if he stepped into Dode level, still cannot see Xiao Yan's strength. After decades of practice, it seems that the latter has made progress. "It is true that after the years of your retreat, I vaguely feel that my strength has improved and I have improved, but there is no record of Dode on the Dochi continent, and I don't know." Xiao Yan was also a little helpless. The Dode power is the strongest in this world, no one knows what goes up. However, he also understands that now he is indeed a lot more tyrannical than when he was just promoted to Dode. Similar to the strength of the original Soul Emperor, I am afraid it will not hinder him in the slightest. In that plane, there may be an answer. At the time of your retreat, my feeling is getting stronger and stronger. The Dochi continent seems to be crowding me out. There is always a voice calling me from a distance. Xiao Yan raised his head, looked at the endless void, and muttered, "I'm curious about that voice you're talking about, or another unknown world." Zhu Kun cracked his mouth, and his eyes were strangely hot. In this world, they were already supreme powerhouses. However, in that mysterious plane, perhaps this was just the beginning of the journey. "You're heartbroken," Xiao Yan said with a smile. "Aren't you?" Zhu Kun said with a smile. Xiao Yan nodded, took a deep breath, raised his head, and looked at the endless void. The smile on his face gradually became brighter. This kind of smile has not appeared for many years. Then Xiao Yan's figure slowly hovered above the Dochi road, squinting his eyes and looking at the endless void in the passage in front of him. His eyes that had been calm for many years suddenly became hot, and he murmured, "These decades of cultivation have almost made me forget the feeling of fighting." Gu Yuan and Zhu Kun hovered close to Xiao Yan, their eyes full of fiery eyes looking at the dark passage in front of them, and asked in a low voice, "Is this the passage leading to another road?" Xiao Yan frowned slightly, then nodded. In that case, let's go. Xiao Yan's body slowly lifted into the sky, and as he rose into the sky, thick clouds suddenly poured out of the empty sky, and the sky within a radius of tens of thousands of miles turned dark in an instant. After coming down, countless powerhouses raised their heads in horror and looked at the Shuangdi Mountains, where they felt extremely terrifying energy fluctuations. Under the gaze of countless eyes on the ground, the endless void of the Shuangdi Mountains began to twist violently, the thick cloud layer wriggled, and finally turned into a dark passage. Horrible smell. This is the way to another plane? Looking at the dark passage like a black hole, Xiao Yan flicked his fingers, and 4 rays of light shot into the hands of Suner. All exchange soul jade with each other and leave a soul imprint on it. In this case, if there is any accident, you will be able to know the life and death situation of each other, and you can take these medicine pills. The unknown world is terrifying, and in the face of the unknown, we can only deal with emergencies by making more preparations. Speaking of Xiao Yan's hands, there were 4 Nataka rings, and there were some 9th grade golden pills in them. It was precisely what Xiao Yan refined when they were retreating and reaching Do Emperor. Xiao Yan's current medicine refining skills can be said to be 10. The product is not too much. These numerous healing medicines all came from Xiao Yan, the #1 pharmacist in the Dochi continent. This 9th grade pill is unmatched on the Dochi road, because it is always refined by the Dode, and it is not comparable to ordinary pill. When Xiao Yan was talking, his face was quite solemn. Even he felt dangerous in that mysterious world. Looking at the passage, even with Xiao Yan's strength, there was not a trace of coercion. Spread out, therefore, have to be cautious. When you enter the passage, you follow me closely. Don't separate. When you encounter a crisis, the first thing you need is to protect yourself. Even if it is the worst plan, we are separated. As long as there is a soul jade, it is easier to find it. Xiao Yan tilted his head and said solemnly to Kaelin and Suner, no one knows what the mysterious plane world is about. Although they are unmatched on the Dochi continent, when they get there, it is no longer like this. If the time comes, he will never be worried that Suner and Kaelin are alone in this unknown world. Kaelin and Suner also knew the importance of what Xiao Yan said, so they both nodded calmly. Let's go. After finishing all the instructions, Xiao Yan took a deep breath again, and stopped talking nonsense. He grabbed Kaelin and Suner with both hands, and when he moved, he turned into a black light, as fast as he could. He swept away at the dark black hole like lightning, and behind him, Gu Yuan and Zhu Kun met, gritted his teeth, and followed. Countless gazes, looking at the meteors streaking across the sky. Some people seem to know what Xiao Yan and others are planning, and there are countless figures kneeling down on that continent. Congratulations to the Emperor Xiao Yan. Congratulations to the leader. The mighty voices converged on the Dochi continent, and finally rushed to the sky, echoing between the heaven and the earth, for a long time. Little guy, the world there will be 10,000 times more exciting than the Dochi continent. Hehe, when I'll be promoted to the Dode level, I'll go to that world to have a look. At that time, you'll have to lay down a place to let enjoy the blessings for your teacher. In the Sky Mansion Alliance, Yao Lao's eyes could not help but get wet when he saw Xiao Yan, who was gradually disappearing in front of him. Father, Mother Suner, I will come to find you when I reach Dode. Even with the strength of Xiao reached Dozhong, seeing the scene of family separation in front of him, tears in the corners of her eyes could not help falling. Xiao Yan, you can't die, you still have to give me medicine to eat. Zian knew very well how much Xiao Yan helped her. If it wasn't for him, the end is also the beginning of a world. Xiao Yan was looking forward to the new world in his heart, and the blood in his heart seemed to be burning again.